Hey, Kindle, here to God willing, try something a little different. I'm a little excited. As always, learning to bind our souls to God, get pleasure, God, hasten redemption. We're going to record a little Gemorra today, God willing. I'm going to start Gemorra Sanhedrin, hopefully get me ready for the Dionysus test, God willing, another. And it's just fun to try something new. A human being loves novelty. Alright, why do elephants paint their toenails red? So they can hide in the cherry trees. Alright, so we're going to learn about what types of cases are judged, God willing, by what types of courts. In Judaism, there's more or less three courts. Courts of not 3, not 21, and not 71. And let's see who does what. So, dinim amonus b'shlosha. If it's a money case, you only need not 3 judges. Gezelus v'chavelus. What if it's a robbery or a wound? Also b'shlosha, also with 3. Alright, so in Judaism, there's 2 types of theft, for lack of a better word. Creeping in the middle of the night, that's Geneva, that's thievery, and broad daylight, muggings, and this type of thing is gazelis. And the laws are different. Someone who creeps in, God forbid, in the middle of the night, he pays double. You might say, why? The other guy is more vicious, right? He actually went up to this guy in broad daylight and just forced him. So, look at vicious guy. He should pay double. No, Torah says not. And the explanation I heard that I liked, the thief isn't afraid of God because he's stealing when he knows he's not allowed. And he is afraid of man. So, not afraid of God, but yes, afraid of man. That's pretty messed up. The mugger, he's not afraid of God, but he's also not afraid of man. So, he's, in a certain sense, not quite as treacherous. These cases are also 3. And wounds. God forbid a person wounds another person. I think we're also going to talk about a person wounding an animal wounding a person, an animal wounding an animal, God forbid, all these type of things. Also are judged by 3. And wounds can be, let's see, it's nice I got the art school, maybe it'll tell me. Wounds can, when God forbid a human being injures another human being, there's 5 types of things that could get paid. I think there's healing, unemployment, embarrassment. Wish I could remember the other 2 right now. So this is translated as bodily injury. One person, God forbid, hurts another. There's 5 types. Unemployment, doctor bills, embarrassment, Shabbos Ripoy Boshas, blemishes. I wish I could remember all 5. Anyway, it's going to say in Bava Kama. Anyway, what are we learning here? And the Gemara says that robbery and bodily injury is also 3. Nezik v'chatzi nezik t'shlumi kafel v't'shlumi arba v'chamisha v'shloisha. And also damages. So Shimon, God forbid, crashed into Levi's car. And half damages, that applies specifically to a bull. I can't say more. I'm going to say more or less specifically to a bull. If it's not known to gore, the first 1 or 2 times it gores, God forbid, the owner pays half damages. So the bull, Shimon's bull gored Levi's bull and caused $1,000 worth of damage. Shimon would only pay $500 if all the right ingredients were in place. The double payment of the thief, not the robber, and the 4 and 5 times payment. If God forbid a person steals a sheep or an ox and either shecks it or sells it, by the sheep it's 4 times the payment, and by the ox 5 times. Either because the ox works more or because the thief is more embarrassed by the sheep, so he gets a break because he's carrying the sheep on his shoulders, so he's already a little degraded, so maybe cut him a financial break. A onus, a mafata, God forbid a rapist, or God forbid a seducer. Motzi Shemra, and a slander. I can't say slander specifically. Someone who puts a bad name on a young lady. He married her and he thought she was a virgin, and he said he found her not to be, but she really was. This is called Motzi Shemra. Beserim Shalosha. These cases are judged by 23. Why? Because there's an aspect of capital punishment to this case. If the Motzi Shemra case, which I want to call it the slander case, but there's a lot of types of slander, but particularly this young virgin maiden is slandered, if it goes down the wrong way, there could be, God forbid, capital punishment. Here's what they call it here. Let's see how they explain. There's a lot of ways to understand that. Alright, let's take a quick break and grab some of the Rashis, God willing. Dinim Amonas V'Shlosher. What does Rashi say? Gemorra Delfina Lu. Gemorra will tell you about it later. Gazelus, robbery. What type of robbery or muggings are we talking about? Kofar B'Kadon. Then Mr. Shalei Boyad Havi Gazlan. He's saying someone left a deposit by somebody and then this comes to get it and the person denies they ever got it. This is also considered an open mugging. And snatching from your buddy's hand, God forbid, Hayagazlan, that's also Gazlan, Kagon V'Yigzol, as Chanis Miyad Hamitzri, like it says in Shmuel. There's a scriptural proof from Shmuel. But if someone borrows and doesn't repay, maybe this is also robbery. He, broad daylight, took the money, knowing he had to pay it back, he didn't. That's not considered Gazelus, Lo Mikri Gazlan. Because when a person gives a loan, it's given to be spent. Meaning, when the Shimon lent Levi the $100, by the time the loan gets to Levi's hands, it's Levi's money. He happens to have an obligation to pay back, but it's his money, so he wasn't a mugger. These are bodily injury. What we said earlier, there's the verse. If a person, God forbid, puts a blemish in his body, so too if he puts a blemish in his body's money, God forbid on both, the Gemorra is going to ask, isn't this also the monetary law? So Rashi's prepping you for the opening of the Gemorra. The Mishnah, we're learning the Mishnah now. I should have said that. The Mishnah is usually a short, sweet, just to the point, meat and potato style teaching. This happens to be a particularly long Mishnah, at least for what I've seen. I can't say I'm Bucky Bashas. I have, I don't know if I should say this or not. I've only completed, a handful of Masechtas, 5 or 6, maybe 7 Masechtas, which I don't know if that's a lot or not, and they were all the shorter ones. I took on Megillah and Tainus and Makos and etc., etc. Beitza. I can remember them all. Anyway, this is probably the longest mission I've seen. I mean, it's more than a whole daf. It's more than a whole page, this mission. Anyway, but the Gemorra is the back and forth. The Mishnah is generally just the straight law, the facts and nothing but the facts. Then the Gemorra gets into what's behind the scenes. How did we derive the law? Where can you find it in Chumash? How do you get it? What's the scriptural source? And Rashi's telling you a little behind the scenes already. So one of the questions the Gemorra asks, isn't a bodily injury case also a money case? So why did the Mishnah have to say money cases are judged by 3? And so do bodily injury cases are judged by 3? It seems redundant. Isn't bodily injury considered money? So, and the way he puts it here, what's the difference? He doesn't put it here. Okay, fine. So we're going to discuss that. Isn't this also a money case? It's cash changing hands. He, God forbid, hurt his friend. And God willing, we'll get to that today. Alright, so this is part of the oral tradition we're learning now. And generally we're learning how do you get from the Chumash to the law. How do you get from the Bible to the actual practical law. I would say this is, in my words, the derivation of the law. The Mishnah is more or less the law, but we don't learn law from Gemorra. And there's a lot to say about that. We learn law from Shulchan Aruch, and more importantly, we call it Rav when we have a question. And even if we don't have a question, we think we know, we should still call it Rav. The law is what comes out of the Rav's mouth. The Shekhinah speaks from the Rav's mouth. Anyway, this is the oral law we're learning now. And for 1,100 years, it wasn't written down. It isn't supposed to be written down. It's never supposed to get written down. So how is it I'm holding a book right now and reading it to you? I'll tell you how. Because about 1,100 years after it was written down, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi saw that the teachings were, God forbid, slipping away. And he reasoned if we don't write it down now, we could lose it forever and ever. So he was Messiah's Nefesh, he wrote it down. So he, I don't know physically or how it happened, went around to all the yeshivas and gathered up all the teachings. And the most authentic teachings, in his opinion, became the Mishnayos, the Mishnah that we're learning. I don't know if I want to say the least disputed, the most corroborated, however you understand it. Rabbi Ushi and Rabbi Chia said, Rabbi, what about all these other beautiful teachings? And He says, yeah, if you want them, you can bring them in. So we're going to learn about brises. That's a little bit less strong than a Mishnah. Until Seftas, we don't see as very often. Alright, so Rabbi Yehuda Nassi's period is called the Tanoic period. Anyone mentioned in a Mishnah as a Tana. This period lasted about 500 years. The next 500 years is the Amoraic period. Anyone mentioned in the Gemorra is an Amora. Now, an Amora cannot argue on a Tana, unless he has another Tana to back him up. Cannot argue on the earlier time period. Yet, within a given time period, precedence is given to the later people in that time period because they had more to look at and rely on. It's very interesting. Where's the line and why did it switch? A lot to say about that. It's a very interesting idea. One of the things that always struck me, I don't know about you, but I mean, I didn't grow up this way. I've had this beard about 12 years, or as I like to say, impersonating Chassid about 12 years. I think we all played the game telephone in school. Somebody says a silly sentence in one guy's ear and it goes around the room. He whispers it to the next guy, the next, and next. And by the time it reaches the last person, it's completely different than how it was. Now, these teachings weren't written down, and we're just given over from teacher to student for more than 1,000 years, and they're not the simplest teachings that you're seeing already. And yet they were kept authentic. When Rebbe went around, there were pretty complicated teachings that were authentic word for word. Word for word, complicated stuff that didn't morph over 1,000 years. That's phenomenal. You know? So how did we... So that's one of the things that speaks to me about the godliness in the Torah. Mostly God is good, and let's just do what he says. Try to make him happy. Let's let him redeem us. You gotta let God in. Alright. Yeah, you gotta let God in. Let him redeem us. Quick break. That all being said, so how did we know the law before we had a Shulchan Aruch? You know, we only had to get the Shulchan Aruch 500 years ago. How did anyone know the law before there was Shulchan Aruch? How did it work? We went to the Rebbe. And you're going to see debates about the law in here. You know, and if a person lived in Haifa, let's say, and they had their Rebbe, and the Rebbe taught one way, then this would be the law for them, as I understand it. If they lived in Lud, and the Rebbe taught this way, this would be the law for them. So there wasn't a codified Jewish law for all the Jewish people at that time. And that's why you see the arguments in the back and the forth and what's behind the scene. And Rabbi Yosef Cairo came and he poskined the law. He relied mostly on the Rambam, the Rif, and the Rosh, as I remember correctly. I hope that's right. Pretty sure. Maybe I'm supposed to mix in the Ron. I think it's the Rambam, the Rif, and the Rosh. And leaning a little bit more heavily towards the Rambam. And he merited that. There's a lot to say about that. Alright, fine. Back to the Gemara. More literally back to Rashi. Nezik, what's damaged? Deshur Hamuad, Esadam Shehizik, Gemorra Parachaino Chavelos. That one ox that was known to be a going ox damaged, or a person does damage. A person's always considered to be on notice, to be muad, designated. That's interesting. An ox isn't considered designated for damage unless it shows a pattern. A human being is considered to have this status because he's... it's interesting. It's interesting. A lot to say about that. Wish I knew what to say. More parachina chavelos. And the ones that say, wait a minute, these are also wounds. Aren't these redundant teachings? The Mishnah doesn't waste words, so what's going to be brought out from this teaching? Shlume kofel. Rashi continues, what's this double payment? It's a regular thing. He tunneled it in the middle of the night. Because the verse says, Shlume arba chamisha deshor said the ox or the sheep, like we said, the onus of that was stolen and then slaughtered or sold. How about the rapist and seducer, God forbid? Nari basula chamishim kesef. There's a 50 shekel fine involved in those things. Motzi shemra. What's motzi shemra? Lo matzasi b'sok v'tulim. The nice oiso mea kesef. The motzi shemra has 100 shekel fine. How could there be a capital aspect to this Motzi Shemar case? He said not nice about this young lady. The Amasaya says, if she, God forbid, was adulterous before she was married, but already engaged, it could be that she would, God forbid, be killed. In any capital case, needs 23. Common Perikin, you're going to learn about that later. Alright, maybe that's a good place to make a quick pause. Keep a shorter video to start. And God willing, we'll go forward. Alright, shake now.